Hello and welcome to the formal review. Today, we will be looking at the 2020 film, Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the review.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the formal review. This is season 3 episode 9 and I thank you all for tuning in once again. Now before I get started, I do want to preface this episode with a slight spoiler warning. As always, I will do my best not to ruin the movie for you. However, I do suggest that you see the film before hearing what I have to say about it so you fully understand everything. Now I know I did a written review of this on backseatdirectors.com and there are a few things that I wanted to go into a little bit more on my podcast review just because I feel there are some things that need to be said versus written because they can come off in a little bit of the wrong way and a fully understand of this entire film. Now I only say this because this film specifically deals with abortion and so the review will include thoughts on that and also women's rights. And if you really have any issues with that, I suggest you stop listening right now. However, if you really don't care about either or just want to hear my thoughts on the film, keep listening. Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always is a drama film written and directed by Eliza Hittman and it stars Sydney Flanagan, Tyler Ryder, Theodore Pellerin, Ryan Eggold, and Sharon Von Etten. It originally was released in theaters on March 13th, 2020. However, because of the coronavirus pandemic, it only made a little over $16,000, and as such was released on digital at the beginning of April. The film is about Autumn, played by Flanagan, a teenage girl from a small town in rural Pennsylvania who finds out that she is pregnant. Not having the best parental figure, she decides to hide her pregnancy from them. Her small town only leaves her with a few options, but she decides that there is only one way out of her situation. She and her cousin, Skylar, played by Ryder, scrape together what money they have and catch a bus to New York City to get an abortion. This film's pacing honestly feels similar to a thriller at times because of what these two girls have to go through. There are a few cringeworthy scenes because this film is a very solemn and honestly powerful movie. It is a relatively simple story, but it feels very authentic of this lower middle class teen facing an unexpected pregnancy and doing her best to deal with it. This film feels very current and also very non-judgmental toward this young girl who must make this very difficult decision. This film is not meant to look like a blockbuster by any means, and it's rather a film about choice. This film also looks into the many discomforts that many girls and women feel with come-ons, harassment, and also inappropriate behavior that can happen regularly. Men are not looked at in a positive light in this film. However, this film is really meaningful in this portrayal. While not all men are similar to those shown in this film, there are definitely a good amount that are, and these are the ones that the film is representing. Hittman shows this in this local supermarket where old men try to invite the main characters to a party while also dealing with their boss's harassment. There are less obvious demonstrations of this, such as from Autumn's father or stepfather, who describes their loving dog as quote-unquote slut and is quote-unquote easy to please. And then, later on in the film, their efforts to get help from a man has to be exchanged for something else in return. These are obviously very heavy themes to show. However, this is a very true sentiment of how women's health is so often not their decision to make. Hittman shows all of this through Autumn's story with no score, and the film's silence makes the film pass slowly, but this builds up the plot and keeps the film engaging for the entire runtime. Autumn and Skylar are young, working-class teenagers really in a man's world. Their resources and opportunities are dependent on the men in their lives for better or for worse. Though in this movie's case, it's more of the latter than the former. At the beginning of the film, Autumn stands on an auditorium stage performing at a high school talent show. She's clearly one of the better performers as she follows an Elvis impersonator. She gets on stage and plays her acoustic guitar cover version of He's Got the Power by the Exciters. Now, for those who don't know this song, it is supposed to be about a man who has a woman fall in love with him and changes her life and is very, very upbeat. And by looking at Autumn, one would think that she'd be replaying a more lively version of this song that's more similar to the original. However, her version is filled with pain. When she sings the lyrics, he makes me do things I don't want to do, and he's got the power of love over me. Any viewer can really understand that her meaning is not the same as the original song. This is the only time in the film where she is really outgoing, as she is yelled at for being a slut. And then her stepdad, or dad, tells her that her mom told him to tell her that she's sang well. She clearly doesn't have a good relationship with people in this town that are the men. And then, like I said, as she goes to work, she has to deal with harassment. So she's not very supported by the people in her community. As such, the viewers see that she does not have many friends, and her parents do not seem to care too much for her. Her cousin is the only one who's really there for her in a world that would have been so much more lonely if either of them were alone in it. Flanagan plays Autumn very well as a person who expresses very little emotion, but it honestly makes her more intriguing. Very little is given about Voting isn't just going to the polls anymore on election day. Options like early voting, mail-in voting, and ballot drop boxes are available to more voters and are growing in popularity. How to Vote is a tool created by Democracy Works, and it breaks down the options your state offers by forecasting a ballot, empowering you to decide where and when to vote. Democracy works best when we all vote, but misinformation and confusion about election procedures have resulted in low voter turnout. How to Vote takes the guesswork out of the voting process. It is easy to use and helps folks from all over the country overcome many of the process barriers to voting. It is committed to helping you vote no matter what. You can use the How to Vote tool to sign up for election reminders, see what's on your ballot, get step-by-step assistance requesting your mail ballot, explore your options for returning your mail-in ballot, check your voter registration status, and find your local polling site and make sure that you have an appropriate ID to bring with you. Decide when and where you'll vote this year at howto.vote. Her through dialogue. Flanagan makes Autumn's eyes mesmerizing as there is this mystery to her that is not given to the audience in an obvious way. The film doesn't give any clear indication of who the father is or how they were involved. She could have been raped. She could have been in a relationship where a man did not listen to how she wanted to have sex. Viewers have to see her story play out, and unfortunately, they have to assume the worst when it comes to her love life. One watching this movie may not know all the details when it comes to her reasons, but one can really tell that it's not a bad one given her situation. The film shows numerous sexual predators from boys at her school to men on buses and trains. Both Flanagan and Ryder have amazing performances, with the obvious standout being Flanagan. Each moment she has on screen is done so well, and each moment that they have together shows them becoming closer and closer as cousins and also friends. Flanagan is able to take single words and make them have meaning, and there's even a scene that has no word, but it is just as powerful as every single other scene in the movie. This scene has Autumn and Skylar simply just clasping hands, and given what is happening around them in this scene, anyone can feel their friendship and pain at the same time. Flanagan also shows her acting ability in the scene involving the New York City clinic, where she is required to answer questions,
and all you have to do is answer either never, rarely, sometimes, or always.
Questionnaire pushes Autumn to answer very uncomfortable questions that most likely she has never been asked before.
In the past year, your partner has refused to wear a condom, and your partner messes with your birth control or tries to get you pregnant.
Now, before I go into the next little bit, I do want to say that this is going to be a bit spoiler heavy, so I will say skip ahead to the ending if you don't want to hear any of it, but I do feel that it is necessary to show the importance of this movie. So, you've been warned. Some of these questions that she is asked in this scene, she starts to break down in tears. And honestly, if this isn't bad enough, she is unable to answer these two questions.
Your partner has hit you, slapped you, or physically hurt you. Your partner has made you have sex when you didn't want to.
Now this scene is so powerful as it only has Autumn using the 4 words in the film's title to answer questions about her health and sexual history. It's a very simple scene. 2 women sitting in a room talking, but the feeling of it is so much more. Over the course of the film, Hittman has brought her audience to care for Autumn. She shows Autumn dealing with many encounters with sexual predators, and all she does in these moments is push her feelings down and ignore them. However, as everyone does, she has a limit, and this limit is hit when she has to talk to this counselor. She breaks down, and honestly, it can tear any viewer's heart out. The fact that she is seemingly awake for the entire film. And it's really heartbreaking to see this and see her go through this journey. But then when she gets on the bus to go home and she's able to sleep finally, she knows that the struggles aren't over, but she's willing to take the victories when she can. She's willing now to sleep, even though now she still has to go home and confess this all to her family. and so much more prejudice that she's gonna have to feel in her life, but she's willing to sleep now just because she has gone through such powerful journey. It deals with a very heavy topic that may upset some who disagree with its message, and it really may be difficult to watch because of the grim feeling of the film. However, if neither of those seem like issues to you, the film doesn't really have any flaws. This film is not about Autumn's love life or how she became pregnant. Rather, it's about her choice in the matter and the difficulties she has once she makes that choice. The film has really demonstrated women's rights that doesn't really feel forced. All Hitman does is put these two young teenage girls in a very believable situation and shows how life does not give easy pass to everyone. It's a very simple story with a very powerful message that can be viewed by almost anyone. In the case of the stay-at-home advisors, this film is definitely a stream it, but in normal situations, it would definitely be a go see it in theaters. I think this movie is very good and I couldn't recommend it to anyone more. What did you think of the film? Let me know. Hit me up on social media. The formal review is on Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, and Facebook. The URL is the same. It is at The Formal Review. Please also subscribe to the podcast on your favorite service. It is on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts, Podbean, and really anywhere that you can find podcasts. Also, I'm always wanting to go and improve, so you feel free to leave a review. If there's a type of episode you want to see, I am open to ideas. I really want to keep this entertaining for you all because I see the numbers and I do this for you all. And I appreciate everyone supporting me by listening and talking about movies. For those who have contributed financially, I really thank you for supporting me in that way. For those who want to financially contribute, please go to anchor.fm/the-formal-review and click support this podcast. And any donation is appreciated. You can also check out Backseat Directors, where I work with a team of writers on movie reviews, editorials, and many more types of articles. So please go check that out at backseatdirectors.com. Thank you all again for tuning in. And until next time, I won't be seeing you at the movies because we're all hopefully at home. But until the next episode, be safe, wash your hands, and take care, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Formal Review. We hope you'll join us again.